Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Allison Curtis, and I'm the Product and Information Specialist at the Readiness and Emergency Management for Schools Technical Assistance Center, also known as the REMS TA Center. I'd like to welcome you to the webinar, EOP Assist 3.0, Next Generation of Updates and Enhancements. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available on the TA Center's website following this event. Before we start, we have a few brief housekeeping items to cover. As a reminder, there is no dial-in for this webinar. Audio is available via the Adobe Room on your computer. If you are experiencing difficulty hearing the audio stream, please turn up your computer speaker volume at this time. To download a copy of the presentation slides, as well as the discussed publication, use the Files pod on the top right-hand side of your screen. Select the name of the documents you'd like to review and click the Download Files button. To access any of the web pages referenced during the webinar, use the Web Links pod on the right-hand side of your screen. Select the name of the web pages you would like to access and click the Browse To button. Following this webinar, we'll be hosting a web chat on the Community of Practice to discuss EOP Assist in real time, share experiences, and answer any remaining questions. You may access this web chat via the web pod links as well. To ask a question, use the Q&A pod on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Questions will be sent to the webinar facilitators and answered in the order which they appear and as time permits following the presentation. If you would like to submit a question and are not able to do so via the Q&A pod, please email your questions to info@remstacenter.org. Finally, if you have any experience with technical difficulties during the webinar, please contact the REMS TA Center help desk at info@remstacenter.org. You may also request technical assistance using the Q&A pod. Questions are viewable to the webinar moderator only. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. During this one-hour webinar, we will provide a brief introduction of the federal guidance and then an overview of EOP Assist. This will lead to our discussion of updates available in the latest version of the software application, EOP Assist 3.0, followed by an overview of resources to support users of EOP Assist. Then we will conclude the presentation with an overview of the offline version, the EOP Assist Interactive Workbook. Both presenters will be available for a dedicated Q&A session. First, I'd like to introduce my co-presenter today. Madeline Sullivan is an Education Program Analyst in the Office of Safe and Healthy Students at the U.S. Department of Education. She serves as Contracting Office Representative for the TA Center. Prior to joining the federal government workforce, Madeline provided technical assistance on pro-social skill development, violence prevention, and school emergency management after having served as a special educator. And again, my name is Allison Curtis, and I support the field as part of the TA Center team by overseeing the development of and marketing of, as well as the provision of technical support for our suite of EOP interactive tools, which includes EOP Assist. I'm also involved in the development of numerous topic-specific resources, such as fact sheets and downloadable training packages, and for populating our website with relevant links from partner organizations in the field. Some of you may have already seen me in the field at conferences or trainings by request, or spoken to me on the phone or email regarding technical support for EOP Assist. And hopefully we'll be able to continue our conversation in the future in the web chat and via our help desk line. At this time, I'm pleased to hand over things to Madeline, who will provide an overview of federal guidance on school emergency management. This information will provide a perspective on EOP Assist and how it was designed. Madeline?
Thank you, Allison, and welcome everyone to our webinar. We hope you find this helpful as you prepare to update your EOP Assist and use it with your planning team. As you know, our nation's approach to preparedness is stronger thanks to this new framework. We now think of preparedness in terms of building capacity in each of the 5 missions: prevention, mitigation, response, recovery, and protection. Therefore, addressing prevention is building preparedness. Likewise, addressing response is building preparedness, and no one mission is more important than the other. Generally, we can align these mission areas with 3 time frames: before, during, and after. Before an incident, the majority of prevention, mitigation, and protection activities will be addressed. And during an incident is when response activities primarily occur. And if we're prepared, recovery efforts can begin immediately at this time as well. For example, psychological first aid, or PFA, has a powerful role in decreasing trauma if it's used at the onset of an emergency, such as a tornado or an earthquake. And after an incident is generally when recovery activities are initiated, whether they address the physical structure, the social, emotional, and behavioral well-being of the school community, or activating continuity of teaching and learning plans. Also at this time, mitigation activities play a key role. And then there are activities that take place concurrently. So for example, let's consider prevention efforts during an incident. Schools will use systems to ensure everyone has been located and is okay. And officials are going to assess the status of the building in order to prevent additional injuries. While it's easy to think of each mission separately, they do have a connection, and that is how they all relate to preparedness. In 2013, the U.S. Departments of Education, Justice, FBI, Homeland Security, FEMA, and Health and Human Services collaborated to provide the best possible guidance to communities on how to plan for and recover from the many emergency situations they may encounter. Together, all of these agencies drew upon their respective areas of expertise and created this customized set of recommendations for schools and their community partners. The school guide goes into detail describing the 5 mission areas, the planning principles, and the 6-step process for creating school emergency operations plans, or school EOPs. And now, each agency is sharing this guidance with its respective state and local entities to help support schools and their community partners as they use the same process and guidance as a common framework. As the school guide explains, the following principles are key to developing a comprehensive school EOP that addresses a range of threats and hazards. In brief, planning must use a collaborative process, including community partners, such as first responders and health practitioners. It must be supported by leadership at the district and school level, with senior level officials and leadership providing support throughout the process. It must build from comprehensive ongoing assessment of the school community in order to customize plans to the building level. Take into account a wide range of possible threats and hazards that may impact the school and address safety needs before, during, and after an incident, and develops common functions to support these. It also considers incidents that may occur during and outside the school day, as well as on and off campus. So for example, the plan must take into account school buses, field trips, and school dances. And of course, planning must provide for the whole school community, including those with access and functional needs, students, staff, and visitors, children, adults, and seniors, individuals with disabilities, those from religiously, racially, and ethnically diverse backgrounds, and people with limited English proficiency. The planning principles must be considered at every step of the way throughout the 6-step planning process. A school or district's planning team can work through these 6 steps to develop an EOP, perform a comprehensive review of their existing plan, and conduct reviews of their plan's component parts. So these steps are sequenced to support a collaborative process which invites multiple perspectives for information gathering, prioritizing, goal setting, execution of specific activities, and evaluation. This process is intended to be cyclical and ongoing. So in brief, step 1, this is when we're going to identify all of those persons with roles and responsibilities in school preparedness and protecting the school community. And step 2, this step, this is where we do assessments, site assessments, climate assessments, capacity assessments, and threat assessments. In steps 3 and 4, the team goes from broad planning to detailed, customized planning, creating specific policies, procedures, and directives to eventually complete the annexes. And in step 5, the EOP is created and formalized through review and approval by all entities with roles. And step 6 is critical as ever, as we must continually review, maintain, and enhance the plan, especially in considerations of lessons learned from discussions, trainings, exercises, and real events. Now let's turn our attention to the specifics of EOP Assist and how it helps practitioners to efficiently and effectively develop a school EOP using the process that's been recommended in the federal guidance. OSHS and the REMS-TA Center developed EOP Assist to support you in your continual efforts to create, revise, and update school EOPs. We created it in collaboration with a diverse group of school and district emergency management practitioners and subject matter experts from across the nation, as well as with collaboration and support from our federal partners. So our primary objective was to develop a school EOP generator to help you and to make the collaborative developmental process easier for planners, to lead users through the 6-step planning process, to make resources readily available to support users throughout the process, and to generate a school EOP that is once again easy to review and to enhance. In contrast to some other plan generator tools, EOP Assist emphasizes the process for creating the EOP, not just the final product. That said, EOP Assist will ultimately generate a plan exported to Word once users complete the 6-step process. In other words, the purpose of this tool is twofold. First, it is to instruct users on the process for developing a school EOP, and second, to help the users actually create a high-quality school EOP. Since the first release of EOP Assist in January 2015, the REMS-TA Center has worked to continually update the application based on feedback received from the field. In September 2015, we released EOP Assist 2.0, which includes the same essential functions of the original application, as well as a number of enhancements. This included the ability for state agencies or regional education agencies to host the application for multiple districts and schools in their jurisdiction. They could also updated the management functionality. We expanded the IT compatibility with more server configurations, and we included the addition of recent resources to the resource toolkit. Most recently, we released EOP Assist 3.0 in March 2017, which builds off the features of EOP Assist 2.0 and includes the most enhancements to date. Users may now incorporate state and local requirements directly into the tool, and administrators have even more management functionality. Additionally, the application is compatible with more current software versions, and the resource toolkit features new fact sheets, webinars, and other resources published since the previous release. If your institution has installed a previous version of EOP Assist, you may upgrade to EOP Assist 3.0 without losing any of your data. We have specific instructions for this process, and that we will discuss later on in the presentation. So now we were hoping to hear from you. Are you already using EOP Assist? Oh, well, this is great. It looks like we have an audience. So I'm confident, since so many of you have not used it before, that you're going to have a lot of questions or be curious about things. So I encourage you to pose a lot of questions at the end. The more questions you pose, the more valuable this time is together. One important feature of EOP Assist is that it's a downloadable software application that's installed onto a server. It can be hosted by schools, by school districts, for use by their schools in the district, or by a state agency or a regional education agency for use by their schools and districts in their state or region. After downloading EOP Assist from the REMS TA Center website, IT personnel can install EOP Assist locally on their institution's local server or your institution's local server, and then make the tool available to users through your internet. The fact that EOP Assist is installed locally means that the institution hosting the application is responsible for storing the EOP data input into the software, and that no one outside the institution, including the REMS TA Center and including the Federal Department of Education, will have access to the data or plans. This is really, really important because it ensures that confidential information will remain secure. And at the same time, the responsibility for securing that confidential plan resides with the institution that's hosting the application. And so similar security precautions should be used with this software as with any other software that houses confidential information. I'm very pleased at this time to turn the presentation back over to Allison. Allison?
Thank you, Madeline. So the REMS TA Center created a series of video tutorials on how to use EOP Assist, which are available for viewing on the REMS TA Center website. The first video tutorial showcases the features and functions of EOP Assist and provides an overview of the tool. So let's take a look at it right now to learn more about the application.
Welcome to an overview of the features and functions of EOP Assist. This is the first of 3 tutorials on how to use the REMS TA Center's software application for developing high-quality school emergency operations plans, or EOPs. In this tutorial, we will review the layout of the application as well as how to log in, log out, and change your password. This tutorial will be provided from the perspective of a school-level user. Please see the third tutorial, Using EOP Assist as an Administrator, for information on how to use this application as a school or district administrator. Before you can access EOP Assist, IT personnel at your district or school must first download and install the software on a local server at your district or school, and then provide you with a URL and login credentials to access the application. This URL should bring you to the login screen that you see before you. Each time you open the URL to view EOP Assist, you will be presented with this login screen. At that time, you must enter your user ID and password. If you do not have login credentials, need to reset your password, or have any other trouble accessing EOP Assist, please contact your school or district administrator. The REMS TA Center does not have the ability to reset your password since this software application is hosted locally by your school or district. To log in, fill the required fields and select the Sign In button. After signing in, you will arrive at the home page of the application. EOP Assist is organized into 5 or 6 sections depending on your user role. Each section is displayed at the top of your screen in a dark gray ribbon. This is the navigation bar, which allows you to navigate through the various features of EOP Assist, including Home, My Account, Calendar, Planning Process, and My EOP. If you're logging in as a school or district administrator, you will also see the Users section. Right now, we are in the Home or Getting Started section of EOP Assist. This section provides useful background information on how to use EOP Assist. Next, let's take a look at My Account, which allows you to change your user ID or password. This can be done by clicking the links in green. Next, let's look at the Calendar feature. School emergency management planning is an ongoing effort that is reinforced through regularly scheduled planning meetings. The calendar feature will help you schedule meetings and create reminders and notifications to support the team's planning process. Now let's turn our attention to the planning process. This is where the bulk of content in EOP Assist is located. It's also where you enter and save data that will populate your school EOP. The planning process is divided into 6 steps, one for each step in the federally recommended 6-step process for developing a school EOP. Notice the Back and Next buttons on the lower right corner of the page. These buttons allow you to navigate through the planning process, page by page, and will allow you to view all pages within each step of the planning process. As you can see, selecting Next will take us to the second page in Step 1, Identify a Core Planning Team. Now take a look at the different tabs across the top of the screen. Each of these tabs is dedicated to a different step in the planning process. Selecting a tab will allow you to navigate between steps in the planning process. You may navigate throughout the planning process in any order, and you can visit and revisit tabs and pages in any order at any time while EOP Assist saves your work. A more efficient way to navigate between different steps and pages within the planning process is to use the Slide Out menu. This is accessible via the menu icon on the top left side of the screen. This feature allows users to quickly navigate directly to any page within the Home, Getting Started, and Planning Process sections. Please note the File Cabinet icon on the upper right corner of the screen. Selecting the icon will open the Resource Toolkit, a feature within the planning process that contains page-specific guidance, resources, and examples to help users develop their school EOPs. Next, let's look at EOP Assist's My EOP feature, which allows you to export your school EOP. Selecting the blue Download button will allow you to download, view, save, edit, and review your plan as a Microsoft Word document. The last feature that we'll showcase in this tutorial is the Logout button. It can be found on the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Please note that EOP Assist also has an automatic
Now I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about the main features of EOP Assist. As the video just discussed, the planning process feature of EOP Assist prompts users through the recommended 6 steps to create a school EOP and contains the bulk of emergency management planning information within the application, making it the most involved section. Planning team members follow the guidance or directions and enter and save EOP data via interactive forms, which will then populate their school EOP. The image before you shows that the user is currently about to add or edit goals and objectives for addressing threats and hazards. We will discuss how this feature has been enhanced in EOP Assist 3.0 later in the webinar. Also, I'd like to point out that the file cabinet image in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. This is the Resource Toolkit icon, which I will discuss on the next slide. The Resource Toolkit is a sliding resource bar that provides page-specific guidance, resources, and examples available as external links to support users through the planning process. It contains references to the school guide as well as supporting publications, fact sheets, webinars, and online courses. Users can access the Resource Toolkit on any page in the planning process by clicking on the file cabinet icon on the upper right-hand side of the screen that I pointed out on the previous slide. We'll talk a little bit more about the Resource Toolkit in the EOP Assist 3.0 update section, as we have recently enhanced this feature as well. EOP Assist allows users to export and download their plan as a Word document. It uses the traditional EOP format outlined in the school guide, which organizes the plan into three main sections: the basic plan, functional annexes, and threat and hazard.
Welcome to Creating a School EOP with EOP Assist, a focus on the planning process. This is the second of 3 tutorials on how to use the REMS TA Center software application for developing high-quality school emergency operations plans, or EOPs. In this tutorial, we will review how to generate a school EOP using EOP Assist, with a special focus on the planning process and My EOP features of the application. This tutorial will be provided from the perspective of a school-level user. Please see the third tutorial, Using EOP Assist as an Administrator, for information on how to use this application as an administrator. The Planning Process section of EOP Assist is where you and members of your planning team enter and save data to populate your school EOP. This feature is a mix of guidance for developing your school EOP as well as forms for entering your team's plan data. The planning process is organized into the following 6 steps. 1. Form a collaborative planning team. 2. Understand the situation. 3. Determine goals and objectives. 4. Plan development, identifying courses of action. 5. Plan preparation, review, and approval. 6. Plan implementation and maintenance. Step 1 is where you establish your planning team for developing your school EOP. Steps 2 through 4 involve collecting and recording information that will be included in your school EOP. Step 5 is where you actually write out the plan based on the work completed in previous steps. Step 6 is where you and your team put your plan to use. The 6-step planning process is intended to be continuous and cyclical. After your team completes Step 6, you should begin the process again or use EOP Assist to address additional hazards and threats or to revise certain sections of your plan. EOP Assist carries data that you input from one step to the next in order to efficiently develop your school EOP. Specifically, data that you input into Step 2 is forwarded to Step 3. Data that you input into Step 3 is forwarded to Step 4. And data that you input into Step 4 is forwarded into Step 5. Let's look at an example of how this works. In Step 2, you are prompted to input different threats and hazards that your school and surrounding community may face. Let's use the example of a fire. Now, in Step 3, we see that fire is included among a list of options of threats and hazards to be addressed in the plan. Let's select Fire. Moving forward, now it's time to develop goals and objectives for selected threats and hazards. Let's select Add to enter goals and objectives for addressing a fire at school. For our first goal, I will add Prevent a fire from occurring on school grounds. Skipping ahead, you can see that I have now entered in all goals and objectives for the hazard of fire. I will now select Save to save these goals and objectives for fire in the tool. Moving ahead to Step 4, it's now time to write out courses of action based on the goals and objectives written in Step 3 for how to address a threat or hazard before, during, and after it occurs. After selecting Fire, you can see that the goals and objectives we entered in Step 3 were carried forward and are now displayed in Step 4. Using these goals and objectives as guidance, it is now time to write courses of action for addressing a fire. As you can see, I have just written out our courses of action for fire into the designated field. I will now select Save to record these courses of action into the tool. Moving forward to Step 5, which is where the draft EOP is prepared, we will look at the Threat and Hazard-Specific Annexes section. This is where you will see the goals, objectives, and courses of action that you and your planning team determined for threats and hazards in Steps 3 and 4. At this time, you will also be able to edit this information before it appears directly in your school EOP as a cohesive annex. Right now, we can see the goals, objectives, and courses of action that we developed for fire. All of this information will be saved in our fire annex in our school EOP. I don't wish to make any changes here, so I will just select Update. Now I would like to see the work we just completed for the fire annex in our school EOP. Selecting My EOP will take you to a page where you can download your plan as a Microsoft Word document. When you open your downloaded plan, you can quickly navigate to any section or annex through the table of contents that is generated in the plan. Let's navigate to our fire annex to make sure that the content that we just entered is there. And here it is. If we want to edit any material in this annex, we may do that as we would edit any other Microsoft Word document. For example, if we want to insert a floor plan of the school in the fire annex, we can select the Insert tab and then select Pictures and then select the floor plan image file from the folder. Please note that any updates that we make into the downloaded plan must be saved. This concludes our brief tutorial on how you and your planning team can use EOP Assist to develop, edit, and revise the content of your school EOP, as well as how you may access the most up-to-date version of your plan as an exported Word document. Thank you for your attention during this tutorial. Please refer to the first tutorial, an overview of the features and functions of EOP Assist, or the third tutorial, using EOP Assist as an administrator, to enhance your experience in and familiarity with using EOP Assist to develop and revise your school EOP. Additionally, please do not hesitate to contact the REMS TA Center for any questions regarding the features and functions of EOP Assist or for guidance on how to use
Just as a reminder, both of the videos that you've seen today in the webinar are available on the REMS TA Center website on the EOP Assist 3.0 webpage that may be found directly from the web links pod on the right-hand corner of your screen. You may also find the third video tutorial that we will not be playing today on that webpage as well. So now that we've learned about how EOP Assist operates, let's discuss the latest enhancements to the software. The REMS TA Center aims to keep EOP Assist up to date and responsive to the needs of the field. EOP Assist 3.0 has been updated so that it is compatible with the newer versions of the required software, which we will discuss later in this presentation. We also added a number of features that allow for easier management, as well as coordination and collaboration between the various levels of education agencies, state agencies or regional education agencies, districts, and schools. Furthermore, EOP Assist 3.0 allows schools to incorporate state and local requirements directly from those agencies in the application. We will discuss each enhancement of EOP Assist 3.0 in the subsequent slide. District administrators are able to create threats, hazards, and functions that all of their school planning teams should address in their school EOPs, as well as goals and objectives based on district policies or local laws. District administrators are not required to add district-wide data to the application just as schools are not required to include district-wide EOP data in their school EOP. Similarly, state administrators at state agencies or regional education agencies hosting the application are able to create threats, hazards, and functions that all school planning teams should address in their school EOPs, as well as goals and objectives based on state laws or guidance. Again, state administrators are not required to add statewide data to the application, just as schools are not required to include statewide EOP data in their school EOP. This feature allows schools to copy the statewide or district-wide data and add customized courses of action, as well as edit the goals and objectives if they choose. Users will now see additional resources developed by the REMS TA Center or added to the REMS TA Center website since the last release. This includes new webinars, training packages, trainings by request, community of practice forums, fact sheets, and publications. EOP Assist 3.0 also allows institutions to upload resources that are specific to their state, region, or district to the resource toolkit. This new feature is only enabled for the super administrator or IT personnel at the hosting institution. You may choose the location within the planning process section for each resource and may add a single resource to multiple pages. Resources may be uploaded as files or URLs, and of course, these resources are in addition to the national resources that the REMS TA Center has populated into the resource toolkit, which cannot be removed. Super administrators or IT personnel at the hosting institution are now able to delete user accounts from the application. This is the only user role that may complete this task, and once it is complete, the user account cannot be recovered. The super administrator may want to delete a user account if a user account was created in error or if a user leaves a school, district, or other institution. Super administrators are also able to delete school profiles from the application. This is available in both district-level hosting by districts and state-level hosting by state agencies and regional education agencies. The super administrator has permission to delete school profiles. This is the only user role that may complete this task, and once it's complete, the school profile cannot be recovered. Additionally, all school EOPs associated with the school profile will be deleted. The super administrator may want to delete a school profile if he or she has created a school profile in error or if a school closes permanently. Super administrators are now also able to delete district profiles from the application. This is only available in the case of state-level hosting by state agencies or regional education agencies. The super administrator also has a permission to delete district profiles, which is the only user role that may complete this task. Again, once deleted, the district profile cannot be recovered, and all school profiles and school EOPs associated with this district will be deleted. This is why it's limited to the IT personnel who conduct overall management of the application at the hosting agency. This function is necessary if a district profile was created in error upon setup or if a district closes permanently. Super administrators are now able to adjust the duration of time that elapses before users are automatically logged out. This is a feature that is in direct response to the feedback that we received from the field, and so we encourage you to always send us an email with your feedback, or even better, share your thoughts in our designated community of practice forum. This feature protects the security of school EOPs as users are automatically logged out after a set period of time. The duration of time that all user sessions remain idle or inactive before being automatically logged out may be adjusted by the super administrator only. Security standards recommend setting 60 minutes as the maximum amount of time to elapse before timing out. school administrators, district administrators, and state administrators may now all export user account information into an Excel spreadsheet. This exported file contains the full name, email address, user ID, status, user role, school or district name, and view-only status of each user account to which they have access in the application. This feature is also another result of requests from users directly from the field. For those of you who have never installed EOP Assist on your server, which sounds like everyone attending today's webinar, you must first register for the tool on the REMS TA Center website. Registrants will then receive an automatically generated email with details on how to download the application files, installation manual, and the user manual. IT personnel at the host institution will then install the software application onto the institution server using the directions provided in the installation manual. IT personnel must use a server that uses the required software and meets the configuration requirements listed in the installation manual. IT personnel will then begin setting up a profile and accounts for the host agency and its practitioners, who will be responsible for leading the use of EOP Assist in their jurisdiction. IT personnel will share the login credentials with these practitioners, who will then set up additional accounts and profiles for the entities and practitioners on their teams or at lower levels. Step-by-step instructions for the setup test may be found within the user manual. IT personnel will then create a URL that points to the application and share the URL with practitioners. Typically, institutions place a link to the URL directly on their website so that staff may access it easily. Individual users will then be able to access EOP Assist through a web browser using the URL and will be prompted to log in with your unique login credentials. In comparison, those institutions who have already installed EOP Assist may upgrade their version to take advantage of the new features that we've discussed in today's webinar. This process ensures that no institution loses their EOP data saved in the application during the upgrade process. You will need to refer to your original registration email that you received from info@remstacenter.org. If you cannot find it, you are welcome to register again on the REMS TA Center website to receive a new email. Use the login credentials in the email to access the application file and instructions. You will then download the upgrade instructions and application file, which are different from the files and instructions used to install the application for the very first time. Please note that the upgrade process is faster and easier to complete than the original installation. IT personnel will then follow the upgrade instructions and upgrade to EOP Assist 3.0. If done properly, you will not lose any of your data within the application. You may then use EOP Assist 3.0 and its new features to update, review, and revise your school EOP using the internet. If you experience any issues during the installation or upgrade of EOP Assist 3.0, please do not hesitate to reach out to the REMS TA Center Help Desk. The REMS TA Center has made EOP Assist 3.0 available in a range of technical configurations that are either free and open source or widely used by educational institutions. It is compatible with multiple operating systems and 2 types of web server software, although we do recommend using Apache for easier configuration. Additionally, EOP Assist 3.0 is compatible with 2 relational database management systems, but requires the use of PHP. The latest versions of each of those required software are located on the screen. More information on version compatibility is also listed in our installation manual, which may be accessed in the Files pod on the right-hand side of your screen. This document and information will be particularly important for your IT personnel to review before they begin installing the application. The REMS TA Center provides numerous resources to support practitioners' use of EOP Assist, which are available on the EOP Assist 3.0 webpage that may be accessed in the web links pod on the right-hand side of your screen. The webpage is accessible on our website and has three main types of resources. The first are technical support resources, which include our user manual, the video tutorials, two of which we just showed you during this webinar, and an installation manual. Both manuals are available on the right-hand side of your screen in the Files pod. Additionally, you may always contact the REMS TA Center Help Desk with any questions about EOP Assist via our dedicated electronic email address, info@remstacenter.org, or toll-free phone number 1-855-781-7367. We also have information dissemination resources, which include the product description, which is essentially a flyer that summarizes the tool. That's available on the right-hand side in the Files pod on the screen. We also have a brand new flyer for states or regional education agencies to use if they are hosting the application and distribute to their schools and districts. This will be helpful in providing contact information and explaining how schools and districts do not need to install the application and it is being hosted for them. That resource is also available in the Files download pod. Additionally, we have created PowerPoint presentations to support sharing information on EOP Assist to colleagues and webinars that provide an overview of the application, such as this one right now. We also offer a networking resource, which is the EOP Assist discussion forum on the Community of Practice. Here you may post questions or share your experiences about using the tool. In case you are not familiar with the Community of Practice, it's a powerful resource for schools, school districts, institutions of higher education, and their community partners to collaborate on special projects, share news and resources, discuss trends and ideas, and learn from the experiences of others in the field. It offers a variety of forums to exchange ideas and resources with practitioners who do similar work. The EOP Assist discussion forum, pictured on this screen, is also where today's web chat immediately following the webinar will take place. And now I'll hand the presentation back over to Madeline, who will discuss our EOP Assist interactive workbook. Madeline?
Thank you, Allison. Oops. Thank you, Allison. I'm sorry, one moment, please. There's troubles with the phone. One last resource that we wanted to tell you about was the EOP Assist Interactive Workbook. This is a resource that can not only help facilitate your collaborative planning team's use of the EOP Assist 3.0, but it's also an alternative option for practitioners or planning teams that want to use EOP Assist to create a plan, but still prefer that low-tech option that doesn't require server installation. So this offline tool, it's offered in an Adobe PDF and Microsoft Word formats, and it directs the planning team members through the same processes and generates a customized school EOP. And if you were to do a little bit of work in advance, you could go to our website and get the same resources to support planning team members at each step. So this was released in 2015, and this interactive workbook will benefit any users who prefer or require an offline version of the application. The interactive workbook consists of two parts. Part A, instructions which they walk the users through the 6-step planning process. It prompts users to enter plan information, which they enter into Part B, and it includes all guidance, resources, and examples from the software's resource toolkit, which are included as supplementary resources. Please note that for the most up-to-date resources, we recommend using the EOP Assist 3.0 or visiting our website. The second part is Part B, and that is the worksheets. So in Part B, the users fill out worksheets and ultimately convert their worksheets into what becomes that comprehensive school EOP, according to the instructions that are provided in Part A. The best way to think about these two parts, how they work together, is to think about doing your taxes on paper with an instruction booklet on one side and then the tax worksheet on the other. This slide shows examples of the type of material in Part A, the instructions. As you can see, Part A includes specific instructions for how to fill out the worksheets in Part B. These instructions are available as a PDF or, again, a Microsoft Word document if you wish to customize the guidance to align with your state and your local requirements. In this slide, we show an example of the type of material in Part B, the worksheets. So as you can see, the worksheets are numbered and they're labeled so that users can be sure to track which instructions from Part A apply to which worksheets in Part B. Users are provided with instructions on formatting the worksheets into a school EOP. And states and districts may pre-populate the required EOP information into these worksheets before disseminating them to the schools. These worksheets are available as Microsoft Word documents.
Thank you, Madeline. And so this concludes our presentation on EOP Assist. We'll now take a few questions from our participants. Remember to pose your questions using the Q&A pod on your computer screen. I will share the written questions in the order that they are received. Our first question is there a cost for EOP Assist? EOP Assist, like all of the REMS TA Center's products, are free and available to the public at no charge. That includes technical support for installing the application. You can always contact us and we'll provide any support that's required at no charge. Another question from the field about EOP Assist. As a school-level user, who would have access to the application? All the teachers in the building, support staff, as well as support staff in that building? The only people that have access to the application are the users that are granted access to the application. That means you have to create accounts and share the login credentials with those users. So typically, you would want anyone on your planning team to have access to the application. You can also allow people, teachers or community partners that don't have as much of a prominent role on the planning team but need to view the EOP data. You can grant them view-only permission, so they can't add or edit any data, but they can view it with their unique login credentials. Another question from the field is, at the administrative level, I would assume all buildings would be visible and accessible. So at a district level, all school EOPs for each school in the district would be viewable by the district administrator. And the traditional EOP format is not separated by buildings necessarily, so all schools would only have access to their own school EOPs. Another question we received from the field: when you edit or update the downloaded Word document, does it automatically update your original document? It does not. So any changes that you make in the Word document can be saved locally to your computer or server, but it is not saved directly in the application. Those changes must be done in the forms section of the application. Another question from the field is, will EOP Assist be pre-populated with state requirements for EOPs, such as specific hazards? So this will only happen if a state agency, regional education agency, or even a district hosts the application for their schools and inserts state requirements into the plans for all of the schools in their jurisdiction. If a school installs the application on their local server, they would have to insert all of that information on their own. The question is, what are the technical requirements for the server? All of that information is available in the installation manual, which lists the version of each required software. So essentially, it's available on many different types of operating systems. Must be used on, the server must have Apache or IIS as its web server software, and either Microsoft SQL Server or MySQL as its relational database management system. Additionally, the server must have PHP. Another question is, can colleges and universities use this software? EOP Assist was specifically designed for educational entities and their community partners at the K-12 level, and so it's possible that an institution of higher education could use this software to develop a higher ed plan, but we would like to note that the application was developed according to federal guidance for developing high-quality school plans and not for higher ed plans. But we do offer a suite of interactive tools that were designed for use by both colleges and K-12 schools and districts. The first is EOP Assess, which helps practitioners assess their understanding and elements critical to the process of creating and maintaining a high-quality plan. This tool may be helpful for planning team members to test their knowledge. And then another tool in the suite is EOP Evaluate, which helps planning team members evaluate an existing plan against federal guidance and identify areas of your plan to revise. Neither of those two tools that I just discussed require installation, and they may be accessed directly via the REMS TA Center website or the EOP Interactive Tools webpage, web links, in the web links pod. We also have a flyer on our suite of EOP Interactive Tools, which is available for download in the Files pod.
And another thought about the use of EOP Assist for higher ed. So if you were familiar with both sets of guidance, they're very similar. However, you know the two populations are, as much as they have commonalities, they have some distinct characteristics. And that'll show up in a couple of places. So for example, one of the planning principles in higher ed is to think about that individual preparedness. And then in terms of the annexes, there are a couple other considerations. So there's different recommendations for specific annexes to make. That being said, none are mandated. So if you were from an institution of higher ed, and if you were curious if this would suit your needs, you might want to take a look at the interactive workbook and review that and make your determination there. And then keep in mind that every step of the way, the EOP Assist is designed so that the output can be customized. And so think about it in terms of the process, and the process is generally has a lot of commonalities and it could be used. Remember that you can customize it. You'll be able to work in that Word format for that extra popular work. And then to make that decision if it's a worthwhile initiative to try, take a look at that interactive workbook.
Thank you, Madeline. We also have another question. Can the U.S. Department of Education or REMS TA Center see my plan in EOP Assist? The answer to that is no. Only people who you grant access to can see the plan. And that's the benefit of installing EOP Assist on a local server, so that plans are safe, secure, and private from outside institutions, including with the REMS TA Center and Department of Education. Another question is, does EOP Assist have to be installed on a server, or can it be installed on a computer? So EOP Assist is a very powerful tool that requires software that we talked about earlier in this presentation that are not commonly installed on computers, such as PHP, web server software, relational database management systems. And so that's why EOP Assist must be installed locally on a server and then made accessible via a designated web address. That also ensures that educational entities have complete control and privacy over the privacy and security of their school plans. Another question we have from the field is EOP Assist compatible with mobile devices? So EOP Assist contains a lot of instructional guidance as well as forms to type in sections of your plan. And because of this, it's not ideal to use a mobile device, nor is it recommended. While it may be possible, more feasible to use a tablet, we still recommend using a computer to access EOP Assist. And then another question is, how much time does it usually take to install the application? Our developers estimate that ideally it takes less than a day to install EOP Assist, but that is contingent that the server environment is configured correctly. And again, all of the configuration and technical requirements are listed in our installation manual. I have a question from the field. Does REMS have any plans to have a demo version of EOP Assist available online or for schools to explore the tool? We do have a demo account installed locally on our server that we can send login credentials to access so that you can review the application, test out the features, and make sure that you want to use the application before you install it locally on your own server. We got another question. What is the cost to install the EOP Assist program? Again, it's free as long as you have all the required software, most of which are either free or widely available, free, open source, or just widely used. That would really be the only cost associated with it. The REMS TA Center, everything the REMS TA Center produces is always free to schools and colleges, educational institutions in the community. This concludes our Q&A session. I want to thank everyone again for participating in this webinar. For more information about EOP Assist or the REMS TA Center's other free resources, just visit our website at remseted.gov or contact our help desk via info@remstacenter.org or our toll-free number 1-855-781-7367. Follow us on Twitter at REMS TA Center or join our community of practice. Thank you everyone again for joining us today, and this concludes our webinar and brings us to our web chat. So as we mentioned, we'll now be continuing the conversation online on the community of practice in the EOP Assist discussion forum. Look for the web chat following webinar and the web links if you would like to access it, or we should be pushing you to the room shortly. Use your login credentials to access it and share any questions or experiences that you may have using EOP Assist. If you have any questions or issues accessing it, please feel free to